Hi, in today's episode we are switching from Windows 11 to Linux. And this is the result, a smooth, no fuss, geeky, nerdy Linux desktop. The perfect beginner-friendly setup. Stay tuned to see how I do it.
Whenever you're doing something, Microsoft is in charge of everything, and they know everything that's on your machine and device, and probably they are tracking you. There are a few tools that allow you to avoid this. It's very easy to install. I've installed it before. The first tool to look at, Titus Tech's utility, and this is from his GitHub channel. It's his Windows utility, and even in 2025 it's pretty good to use. So the way in which you run this is you go to his GitHub channel, and all you have to do is copy this to install the stable branch. So right click the Windows icon and go to Terminal, paste the command in there, hit enter, and this administrative panel should pop up. There you go. And here you have a selection of browsers: Brave, Firefox, Floop, LibreWolf, Vivaldi, Waterfox, Zen browser, etc, etc. Communication tools you have here as well. Development tools you have here. Document tools you have here. Games you have here. Microsoft tools you have here. Multimedia tools, Pro Tools, and utilities. A whole bunch of utilities. And here you're able to install and upgrade an application, uninstall an application, upgrade all applications, and so forth and so forth. You can do several tweaks to the operating system, so you can reduce the number of bloatware on here, and advanced tweaks with cautions as well. So all of this system allows you to tweak everything in your Windows setup. There's a config panel as well, in which you can configure that, updates, and the micro win as well. You can take your own time to look through this, and I'm sure several of the techie guys, if you're watching this channel, you know of this utility already. Then there is another utility which I think comes from, let's just close this one. This one comes from Raven, if I'm not mistaken. I actually forgot what it's called, but it was probably debloater. So let's look at that. Talon, that's what it's called. It's Talon. It was developed by Raven. It's a Windows 11 debloating tool designed for ease of use, even for not technical users. Now I've tried this one as well, and it did work effectively. You can go again to the GitHub channel, and on the GitHub channel, Talon's got a few caution measures here that you can use, and of course here's the installation. I too have used this tool, and it removes a lot of things off the standard Windows installation. I would say both tools, Talon actually uses part of the Christ Titus Tech system, and actually it runs quite smoothly. Should you be scared if it shows up as malware? No, because I believe it's quite robust in the sense that there is no tracking device. And here it even states that authors and contributors is Christ Titus Tech. So this is another tool that I'll recommend you use if you want to debloat Windows. I've only tried these two before. I haven't gone on to the other channels that have been referring several other debloat tools. And DistroWatch has a distro selection of websites that you can use on the right on the right side here of the top Linux ISO distributions for download. And at the moment, Catchy OS is at number 1, followed by Mint, MX Linux, Endeavour, and Debian. Catchy OS is an Arch distribution. Mint and MX Linux are Ubuntu and Debian distributions. Endeavour OS is also an Arch, and there's also Debian. Debian will be releasing a new version 13, I believe, coming up in this month of August 2025. And there's also Pop OS, Manjaro, Ubuntu, Fedora, Zorin. I have Fedora on another machine, and it's been running for quite some time. I like Fedora. Why? Because it's also up to date and pretty popular. You can always configure and troubleshoot various issues because Fedora is quite popular, and so there's lots of people using it, and they will give you lots of suggestions and advice. Now, I would like to... Ubuntu has become pretty popular. It's a Fedora distro flavor, and it is more for gaming. I believe it's more for gaming. I haven't actually installed this version yet. I have installed, however, Garuda, and Garuda's also released a very minimalized version of its Arch distribution. If we go to their website, you will see they have come out lately. I think over the last 3 months ago or so, they have come out with a minimalistic distribution. And let me just see where it is. Yep, it's called Garuda Mocha. And then there is the standardized Garuda Dragonized, which is a full version. I installed that before. I like it. There's Garuda Dragonized Gaming, and there's the Garuda Gnome, and Garuda Cinnamon, and Garuda XFCE, Garuda Sway, Garuda i3, Garuda Hyperland, and Garuda KDE Lite, Garuda Nix subsystem. That's a new one I haven't played around with before, and Garuda Cosmic. Oh, there's a sort of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different versions of Garuda. My goodness. This will definitely confuse a new user, and I wouldn't suggest you go through all of them because it will just confuse you even more. Stick to one Linux version you think you know and like. Many people have suggested that if people really want to start off with the basics of basics, they should go with Linux Mint. This is a very good and easy distribution for newcomers because they say it looks almost like Windows. And of course, this is the Linux Mint 22.1. I tend to disagree with them. I don't like Linux Mint that much. And I would prefer Zorin over Linux Mint itself. Why? Because it's actually easier, I think, to download Zorin OS, burn it onto a USB stick and install it from there. You can also buy the Pro version, which I haven't paid for before. And it's also Irish based, similar to Linux Mint, I think. Now, something that is coming up very popular, they say, is Catchy OS. I've tried this once. I've just installed it briefly, and I think it looks quite nice. And actually, there is 2 flavors of the download. There's the desktop edition, and there's the handheld edition. I would recommend downloading the desktop version. I haven't played any games on it before, and I might consider this as one distribution to start off with over Zorin. Basically, I would think Zorin is the best for beginners. Something that is even more popular than Catchy OS, Zorin, Ubuntu, and so forth, is something that has been created recently by the Ruby on Rails developer DHH, and DHH released Omarchy. Now, Omarchy is a distribution that many people are now feeling is popular because it has been developed by this fellow called David Heinemann Meyer Hanson. I think he's Norwegian. I might be wrong. But he earlier released a thing called OmaCube, which was a OmaCube, I think, is an Ubuntu flavor. It's not an Arch flavor, it's an Ubuntu flavor. And recently he has released what we call Omachi, and you can go to the Omachi website. Now, Omachi is a bit more, yep, there we go. Sorry, I got it wrong. He's not Norwegian, he's Danish. I'm sorry if I got his country of origin mixed up with. I think if you go to Hanson, you would think that any Scandinavian country with a Hanson or the sonnet behind it is either Danish, Swedish, Norwegian, Finnish, Icelandic. They all have the son at the end of it. I might be wrong, and you can correct me on that. But Omachi, if you click into that, no, sorry, no, I'm downloading the picture. If you click into the Omachi product, and as you can see here, made this guy, DHH, he's go DHH, made Basecamp and Hey for the Underdogs as co-owner and CTO of 37 Signals. Now, within the startup space, Basecamp and 37 Signals is very popular. And amongst the developers, Ruby on Rails was popular at one time. I don't know if it's popular anymore, but let's just say the guy's got a lot of clout. Now, you can find Omachi at omachi.org, and all you need to do is run the script once you've installed Arch Linux. And I think here's an introduction of what Omachi is, and this is by DHH himself. Amongst developers, he is known as DHH, and amongst others, he is known by other names. Any case, for those of you who are interested, you see it's just quite June the 2nd, 2022. It was released recently. Now, OmaCube, which is a different version of what he developed, you can see Oma case developer set up for Ubuntu 24.04. Now, I haven't run this version before, and it might be something that I might consider, seeing that this channel is about beginner development and development within the coding and AI space. So this might be something I might consider. So let's just take a look at this quickly. It says, turn a fresh Ubuntu installation into a fully configured, beautiful, and modern web development system by running a single command. That's the one-line pitch for OmaCube. No need to write bespoke configs for every essential tool just to get started or to be up on all latest command line tools. OmaCube is an opinionated take on what Linux can be at its best. All right, that's opinionated. I mean, many people might agree to disagree or so forth and so forth, but this is something we can look at in the future, because what he says here is that he's installed most of the popular tools, his popular tools, that you can run on Ubuntu. So this is also a option you can do other than Windows. So
Alright, so where is the best place to start? Well, open your browser, and I think I've shown you Rufus before. This is Rufus. You can use this utility to burn your ISO to a USB stick. There's also Berliner Etcher. And Berliner Etcher, you can also flash OS images to SD cards and USB drives. That's a quick utility as well. But for novices or beginners, the best place to start is Fedora Image Writer. Now let's see. Fedora is available at Fedora Linux. I don't really know if there is a Windows version. You can download Fedora Workstation 42 and so forth and so forth. We just need to download the media writer. And actually, wow, you see, I've got Fedora Media Writer by default on my Fedora release, but here's Fedora Media Writer for Windows and Mac. I'm going to click that. Goes to the GitHub page for Media Writer, and I think the Windows version would be the exe file. So let's download the exe file. And as you can see, it's very fast. It's only 52.9 megabytes. It's actually, if we go down to my downloads folder, let's just look at it over here. Fedora Media Writer is about, as they say, 52 megabytes, whereas Balena Etcher is 195 megabytes, and Rufus is only 2. So Rufus is the software of choice, but we're going for Fedora Media Writer just because it's so easy for beginners to use. And before we do anything else, I'd also want to go to Zorin OS, as I believe this is the OS that is easier to use for beginners. So let's just download Zorin OS.
Okay, this system's got everything I actually need. A 1.4 terabyte storage, 128 megabyte graphics card, 16 gigs of RAM, and a 12th gen Intel Core i5. What more do you need?
Okie dokie, so we're going to insert the USB stick into our machine. Windows recognizes that and opens it up. So I've already used a AXOS over here. I've already bent that into the USB stick. I'm going to change that now and use Zorin OS. So let's go to downloads, and this is where I had Fedora Media Writer. Let's double click that. Ooh, it says Windows protected your PC. More information, please. And once you click that more information, you'll be able to run it anyway. So run anyway. Brings up this warning again from the Windows Defender. I'm going to say yes anyway to that, and this will open the Fedora Media Writer installation installer. I agree, install, and this goes forth and installs Fedora Media Writer onto your Windows system. I'm using Windows 11, but if you use Windows 10, it should be similar. So there, it's complete. I'll click next, and this by default is checked, run Fedora Media Writer. I'm going to click finish, and it's going to open Fedora Media Writer. Select image source, download automatically, or select the ISO. Because I've downloaded because I've downloaded Zorin OS already, I'm going to click select ISO file. I'm going to click next. I've got my USB stick, which it says here. Now I've got to select the file. And the reason why I'm using Fedora Media Image Writer over Rufus is because it's just so simple. It shows you what to do exactly, and there's no extras to tweak. I'm going to select this, click this. I'm going to go to downloads. I'm going to choose Zorin OS 17.3. I'm going to click open. And now I'm going to write the Zorin OS to this USB stick, which has AXOS already on it. But for beginners, let's just choose this. So I'm going to click write. It's going to give you a pop-up that says erase confirmation. The entire device, all of 29.49 gigabytes, will be erased, and the selected image will be written to it. Do you want to continue? Yes, of course. Click write. And now it's writing Zorin OS 17.3 core 64-bit R2 ISO to my USB stick. It also says here that your drive will be resized to a smaller capacity. You may resize it back to normal by using Fedora Media Writer. This will remove installation media from your drive. So basically what it's saying in simple English, Zorin OS is going to overwrite whatever data I had on that USB stick. And as you can see, it's 7:33 p.m. right now. Alright, so here you have it. It's almost complete. And by the way, this is the first time I'm using Fedora Image Writer on a Windows machine. I've used it on Linux before. There you have it. It's finished. It took a minute. Exactly a minute to burn your Zorin OS 17.3 to a USB stick. And it says here, restart and boot from the USB stick to start using Zorin. So I'm going to click finish, and it takes you back here. I don't know why it does that, but anyway, it takes you back there, and all you need to do now is just hit the X button on top to close it. And that's it. You have Zorin and Linux on a USB stick.
Right, so I'm going to take the USB stick, I'm going to plug it into the USB section here, if I can just do that. Hold on. There we go. Move over. Pavlova. Alright, so to continue, I will have to see if I got the drive on there. It's not showing up. So mysteriously, it's not showing up on Windows Explorer. But what I am going to do is I'm going to restart the machine and get into the BIOS. To do that, I will have to keep pressing F2 on this Lenovo machine. And there I'm into the BIOS right now. And I need to go to the boot section. So let me move the boot section there and come down to the EFI USB device, and I'm going to press F6 to get it up to the top, which means it should be able to boot from there. I'm going to go to exit, I'm going to click enter, hit enter, and I'm going to save confirmation changes and exit now, yes, and this should be able to boot the system into the USB drive. So there we go. Try or install Zorin OS. Try or install Zorin OS Safe Graphics. And try and install Zorin OS Modern NVIDIA drivers. It is checking the MD5 sums. This should just take a quick step or two. It says press Ctrl+C to cancel all file system checks in progress. We're not doing that. We're just letting the system do the file check by itself. And so we're waiting patiently. And I would say during this time, just nibble with your fingers, because it's just doing the normal procedure which any OS would do. And you should have done this already to check the MD5 sums. The check is finished. The Zorin OS logo is flashing. There's the Zorin OS logo again. And now we're straight into Zorin OS. I've got the date above there, and I've got the time, and it's giving me the option to try Zorin OS or install Zorin OS. We're going to install Zorin OS. So let's click on that. My mouse is not working. As you can see at the bottom there, the mouse is not working, but I will use the touchpad to click Zorin OS. There we go, English. We're going to click continue. We're not going to, I don't want to connect to the internet, so we're going to say continue there. It's going to install third-party software for graphics and Wi-Fi hardware and additional media formats, and I don't want to participate in the sensors. I'm going to click continue. Yours might be a little bit different because obviously I'm not connected to the internet here. I'm going to erase and install Zorin OS, erase disk and install. The options that they give you is install Zorin OS alongside Windows Boot Manager, erase the disk and install Zorin OS, and something else. I'm going to go for the second option, which is erase disk and install Zorin OS, and I'm going to click continue. Now I'm going to select the drive. Now please remember, you will know that Windows is on the 512 gigabyte hard drive. I'm going to select the second hard drive, which is the 1 terabyte hard drive, and Zorin OS is going onto that. So I'm going to click install now. This will install Zorin OS and remove everything, because it says the right to change it to the disks, and it's just giving you the warning that everything will be removed. I want to click continue. I'm going to choose New York as my destination. I'm going to click continue for that. A name, Naughty. A computer name, Codes. Pick a username. We'll stick to Naughty for that, and choose a password. We're going to choose a very reliable password here. We can change the password later, and require my password to log in is checked. I'm going to click continue, and here the process has begun to install Zorin OS. Each installation process will differ depending on the kind of hardware you are running. This is a Lenovo IdeaPad 3, and as I've shown you earlier in the video, the specs were quite basic. It's an i5 with 16 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte hard drive, and so forth and so forth. I give this, if you look at the top of the screen there, it says August the 9th at 5:57 a.m. I'm going to give this 5 to 10 minutes to install. We'll keep the video running to show you just how long it takes. If you get bored, you can skip to the end. Is my mouse working? Still not, but the touchpad is working. So whenever the mouse fails, you can always rely on the touchpad to help. Now the reason why my mouse is not working, it's because it's a Bluetooth mouse and I haven't enabled all the functions on the system to cater for Bluetooth. So that's why the mouse is not working. I do not have a wired mouse attached to this laptop. So the touchpad is, and there you have it. It's finished. Installation is complete. You need to restart the computer in order to use the new installation. Restart now. I'm going to click that. Zorin is flashing. It says please remove the installation medium, then press enter. I will go ahead and remove the installation medium, and I will go ahead and press enter. So that took around about 3 to 4 minutes to have Zorin pops up, and it gives you around about 5 seconds before you can choose something else. I'm going to just stick with Zorin OS here, and in a few seconds Zorin will run. There we have it, the Zorin logo with the Lenovo logo. Naughty is about to sign in. Enter your password and you'll be greeted with the Zorin OS desktop and a Zorin welcome screen. Now, just to check to see if my wireless mouse is working, it's not working. As you can see in the bottom right corner there, that is the pointer, cursor pointer. I'm going to click the starter tour, which will show you something about Zorin OS. Open the menu to launch apps. Choose your desktop look with Zorin appearance. Connect your online accounts. link your phone and computer with Zorin Connect, use software to find and install apps. Visit the help page. That's it. We hope that you enjoy Zorin OS. Okay, close that. So now I have to use the trackpad. And as you can see, my mouse is still not working. The wireless mouse. So we're going to go to Zorin here and we're going to go to utilities. Is it that one? Or is it Zorin appearance or settings? Let's try settings. Bluetooth. I'm going to hit Bluetooth there. I'm going to enable Bluetooth. And it's now scanning for devices. I'm going to plug in my USB mousepad, and there it's gone. It's got Rapu written there and it's not set up. So I'm going to click that and now it's connected. So I'm going to turn my mouse on. It's kind of showing it's connected and not connected. But as you can see there, I'm moving the mouse through the Bluetooth. At the bottom here you have the different kind of desktops. So you can scroll between one desktop and the next. It's only set for 2 desktops. So we'll keep the first one. There's the Brave browser by default. Zorin OS no longer runs Firefox. But because I'm not connected to the internet, you're not going to have the possibilities to do the stuff. So I'm not going to reinstall Brave right now. I'm going to skip that. It's going to go to dark mode. Click next. Maybe later. I'm not going to send any diagnostics data. I'm going to finish that. And there is the Brave browser. So there you have it. You got Brave running on the system. I'm going to close that. This is your Windows File Explorer, very similar to Windows File Explorer. I think Zorin OS uses Nautilus. I might be wrong. Could be using Dolphin. Close that. And this is the software package manager. As you can see, it just shows that Brave is installed. And you have to click and go to, these are the installed apps at the current moment. And of course updates once there is an internet connection. If I left click the Zorin OS logo, I'll be able to see that I have accessories, files, text editor, and the weather. I go back, I have graphics, there is the image viewer, LibreOffice Draw, photos. I go back, go to the internet, and there's of course the Brave web browser and Romina. Go back, I get the office equipment. This is all equivalent to Microsoft 365 or Microsoft Office. I have LibreOffice, LibreOffice Calc, Draw, Impress, and Writer. I have sound and video. I have system tools, and there's a list of system tools which you can go over later. And of course utilities. There's a list of utilities you can use. If I click disks, it will show me which disks I have. This is the 1 terabyte drive where Zorin OS is installed, and this is the 512 gigabyte hard drive that is got Windows 11 on. Now, if all of you are just afraid of what's been happening, I'm going to restart this PC by clicking that icon there. It will restart Zorin OS. I'll go back into the BIOS by hitting F2. I will scroll to boot section. I'll go down to Windows Boot Manager. I'll use F6 to make it to the top. And I'll exit there. Hit exit saving changes. Go yes. And this now should boot up into Windows 11 again. So as you can see, it's quite easy to install Zorin OS alongside Windows on 2 separate hard drives. If you want to install it on the same hard drive, you can do that as well. Where we started at 6:08 a.m. This is Windows 11, and this is Zorin OS 17.3. Welcome to Linux.